In a world where fame and fortune often go hand in hand with ostentatious displays of wealth, imagine a world where a person's worth isn't measured by the size of their mansion or the number of zeros in their bank account, but by the strength of their character. What drives these celebrities to trade luxury for a refreshingly normal life? Get ready to laugh as we explore the quirky choices of Hollywood's most approachable stars, who live as if they were poor. Keanu Reeves. We've all dreamed about what we'd live like if we ever became rich beyond our wildest dreams. But here's Keanu Reeves, who has all the riches and still lives a regular life. Keanu Reeves, the Canadian actor known for his roles in iconic films like The Matrix and John Wick, had an estimated net worth of $380 million in 2024. His wealth stems primarily from a successful acting career that began in the 1980s, with notable films such as Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Speed, and Point Break. However, it was the Matrix trilogy that catapulted him to stardom, with the franchise's earnings exceeding $200 million across its installments. But if you think it's all been easy, you're sorely mistaken. Reeves had a tumultuous childhood after his father left when he was just 3 years old. Raised mainly by his mother, who had to move frequently for work, he faced instability that contributed to his down-to-earth nature. He has endured profound personal losses, including the death of his close friend River Phoenix from an overdose, and the tragic loss of his partner Jennifer Syme, who died in a car accident after suffering a miscarriage. These experiences shaped his worldview, fostering a greater sense of empathy and humility. He often expresses that such tragedies have made him value life and the people in it more, steering him away from a lavish lifestyle. Despite his immense wealth and tragic experiences, Reeves is known for his modest lifestyle. He lives in a relatively simple apartment in Los Angeles, rather than a sprawling mansion, which is a stark contrast to many of his Hollywood colleagues. This choice reflects his down-to-earth nature. He often prefers the comfort of a cozy home to the ostentation of a luxurious life. It's rumored that he even shares his space with a few plants, perhaps having deep conversations about the meaning of life. When it comes to cars, Reeves isn't one to flaunt his wealth. He drives a Honda Accord, a reliable and practical vehicle that suits his humble personality. While other celebrities might be seen in flashy Lamborghinis or Ferraris, Reeves opts for a car that doesn't attract too much attention. It's almost as if he's saying, "I'm rich, but I'm not here to make you feel poor." However, his love for motorcycles shines through in his ownership of Arch Motorcycle, a company he co-founded that specializes in custom bikes. This passion for motorcycles showcases his adventurous spirit while keeping him grounded. And despite his celebrity status, Keanu Reeves chooses to do things differently. He's not afraid to watch a movie alone and doesn't mind chatting with random fans with his astonishing humility, which has made him a legend. His chauffeur, Ronnie Sunshine, shared this particular story of his modesty in page 6 of the New York Post. According to the host, Reeves waited quietly outside in the rain before his own rap party for his film Daughter of God in 2014. The host recalled Keanu waiting patiently. The host said, "I don't think he said anything to the doorman like, 'I'm Keanu.' Nobody recognized him. Keanu seemed very ordinary. It was raining, but he just waited for his two friends to arrive. He didn't act like he had money." The club owner later confessed that he had no idea the actor was waiting outside, given Reeves's quiet demeanor. Reeves's modest lifestyle allows him to focus on what truly matters, giving back to others. He has donated millions to children's hospitals and cancer research, often without seeking recognition. His generosity is legendary. For example, he once gave a substantial portion of his earnings from The Matrix to the film crew, ensuring they were fairly compensated for their hard work. When asked about his wealth, Reeves has been quoted as saying, "Money is the last thing on my mind." This attitude is refreshing in an industry often consumed by materialism. He believes the joy of acting and the opportunity to work with great artists far outweigh any financial rewards. Jennifer Lawrence. Imagine a Hollywood superstar who, despite her fame for winning, an Oscar winner, she chooses comfort over haute couture and remains genuinely cool in a world of superficial people. Jennifer Lawrence, often called America's sweetheart, is known not only for her incredible acting talent, but also for her refreshingly down-to-earth personality. Jennifer Lawrence rose to fame with roles in The Hunger Games and Silver Linings Playbook, where she not only earned millions, but also won an Oscar at just 22 years old. Being one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood, with an estimated net worth of $160 million, is a testament to her hard work and incredible success. But let's be realistic. If you think she lives like a queen in a diamond castle, think again. You'd think the next logical step would be to buy a 15-bedroom mansion, install gold-plated toilets, and maybe adopt a pet tiger. But Jennifer didn't go that route. Instead, she lived in the same modest 2-bedroom apartment she had before she became famous. Even when she upgraded, it was to a relatively modest house in Beverly Hills. Modest by Hollywood standards, she went to a relatively modest house in Beverly Hills. Modest by Hollywood standards, at least. Her house was previously owned by Jessica Simpson. But don't be fooled by that. It's more charming than ostentatious. One of the most famous anecdotes about Jennifer's modesty involves a sofa. After winning an Oscar, she decided to treat herself to something nice, a new sofa. But instead of spending a fortune on some designer monstrosity, she spent $25,000. Okay, that sounds like a lot. But in Hollywood, where people spend that much in one night out, it's practically secondhand shopping. She herself has joked about it, saying it's the most luxurious thing she's ever bought, and that just looking at it makes her feel like she's living the life of luxury. And when it comes to cars, Jennifer has also kept things simple. While her colleagues cruised around in Ferraris and Lamborghinis, Jennifer was content driving a Volkswagen EOS, a convertible that was more girl next door than Hollywood diva. She eventually upgraded to a Chevrolet Bolt, a plug-in hybrid that screams, "I care about the environment, and I don't need to compensate with a luxury car." In a fashion-obsessed industry, Jennifer Lawrence's approach is refreshingly simple. She's known to recycle outfits, a cardinal sin in Hollywood, like the time she wore the same dress to different events. She's joked in interviews about how she doesn't really care about fashion, and has said that when she's not working, she's happiest in sweatpants, spending time with her dog. She's also famous for being uncomfortable on the red carpet, often joking about how awkward she feels in high fashion. Remember the time she tripped at the Oscars? Twice? Once when she was going up to collect her award, and then again on the red carpet the following year? Instead of letting it go, she laughed at herself, endearing herself even more to fans. When it comes to furnishing her home, Jennifer Lawrence doesn't rule out a trip to IKEA. Yes, even with millions in the bank, she's known to shop at everyone's favorite Swedish furniture store. She's joked about her love for IKEA, saying she enjoys assembling the furniture herself. Though one can only imagine the Oscar winner cursing with an Allen wrench while trying to put together a Billy bookcase. But perhaps the most telling sign of Jennifer's humble nature is her commitment to charity. She's known for donating significant portions of her wealth. She founded the Jennifer Lawrence Foundation, which supports organizations like the Boys and Girls Clubs of America and the Special Olympics. She's also been a vocal advocate for gender equality, using her platform to speak out about the pay disparities in Hollywood. In a city where celebrities are often more famous for their extravagant lifestyles than their work, Jennifer Lawrence stands out. She's joked about how terrible she is with money, but perhaps that's because she's not interested in spending it on things she doesn't need. She's more interested in enjoying a simple, authentic life, whether that's eating pizza in her pajamas or spending time with her family in her hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. So, while other stars are busy buying private islands or encasing their iPhones in gold, Jennifer Lawrence is content to live like an ordinary person. Well, an ordinary person who just happens to have an Oscar and a few million in the bank. But that's what makes her so relatable. She's the superstar who's so happy on the red carpet. The actress who could buy anything, but chooses to live simply. And in Hollywood, that is nothing short of revolutionary. Leonardo DiCaprio. Imagine this. A man who survived a sinking ship, wrestled a bear, and even danced with wolves, yet chooses to live a refreshingly simple life. Leonardo DiCaprio is a major figure in Hollywood, with an estimated net worth of $300 million. That's quite an achievement for a guy who famously played a character who let go of a perfectly good door in Titanic. You'd think with that kind of money he'd be living in a solid gold mansion. But no, DiCaprio prefers to keep a low profile. He owns an impressive home in the Oriole Way complex in Los Angeles, but it's not exactly the sprawling property you might imagine. It's more of a let's keep it elegant but not ostentatious vibe. After all, who needs a 20-car garage when you can have just a few eco-friendly cars and a private island in Belize? Yes, you heard right. He owns an island, which is a bit more extravagant than a modest lifestyle. But hey, it's for the sake of environmental conservation. Speaking of being eco-friendly, DiCaprio is a passionate environmental activist. He's known for using his wealth to promote sustainability, frequently investing in green technologies and supporting initiatives against climate change. You could say he's the ideal guy to save the planet, proving that you can be rich and still care about Mother Earth. In a world where some celebrities are more concerned with their latest designer handbag, DiCaprio is saving polar bears and planting trees. As for cars, DiCaprio has a collection that includes brands like Lamborghini, Ferrari, and Audi. But he's not the type to show them off. You won't see him speeding around in a flashy parade. Instead, he's probably cruising around town in something eco-friendly, like a Tesla. His real estate portfolio is impressive, with properties worth millions, but he's also known for selling houses at a profit. He sold his Malibu home for $11 million, making a tidy profit of $10 million. It's almost like he's playing Monopoly, but instead of buying up avenues on the board, he buys eco-friendly properties. DiCaprio's philanthropic efforts are legendary, donating millions to various causes including wildlife conservation and climate change. In fact, he has raised over $80 million for charity. You could say he's the Robin Hood of Hollywood, always concerned for the poor. So while he doesn't live in a gold-plated mansion or cruise around in the latest sports car, Leonardo DiCaprio lives a life richer in purpose, impact, and authenticity. And in Hollywood, that's worth more than all the Oscars in the world. Robert Pattinson. Let's talk about the brooding heartthrob who catapulted to fame as the sparkly vampire Edward Cullen in Twilight, who could easily have opted to live in a gilded mansion with rooms dedicated solely to his hair products. But instead, he has chosen a much more, shall we say, relatable and sometimes even quirky path. When Twilight hit theaters, Robert Pattinson became an overnight sensation, sending legions of fans, mostly teenage girls and their bewildered parents, into a frenzy. With all that fame and fortune, you might expect Pattinson to live like a vampire king, complete with a castle and a fleet of black sports cars. But Pattinson, ever the contrarian, chose a different path. Instead of embracing the Hollywood lifestyle, he has become famous for his charmingly eccentric choices, both in his career and personal life. Pattinson's net worth is estimated at $100 million as of 2024. The bulk of his fortune comes from the blockbuster Twilight saga, where his base salary for the later films was $25 million, plus a generous percentage of additional revenue that brought his total to $40 million per film. In 2011, Pattinson ranked 15th on Vanity Fair's Top 40 Hollywood list, with earnings of $27.5 million in 2010. It was also reported that Pattinson earned $3 million for his starring role in The Batman. As if that weren't enough, in 2013, Pattinson was second on Glamour UK's list of the richest British celebrities under 30. Britain's London Evening Standard named him one of London's most influential people in 2013. But Pattinson hasn't let the money go to his head. He still drives a 2001 Chevy Silverado that he bought for $2,100. Another charming thing about Robert Pattinson is that he has never taken himself too seriously. After Twilight, instead of launching into a string of blockbuster films, he chose to make smaller, independent films, as far removed from mainstream success as possible. He was far removed from the mainstream he could find. And where he lives? Well, it's a far cry from Beverly Hills mansions. For a time, Pattinson famously lived in a small rented house in Hollywood that was more of a converted junkyard than a luxurious home. The house was described as a quasi-dump, with a non-functional jacuzzi, a pool that looked more like a pond, and an overall vibe that screamed, "I'm rich, but who cares?" He's spoken about how much he loved the place because it was tucked away and allowed him to escape the spotlight, a recurring theme in his life. And when he did buy a Spanish-style mini mansion in Hollywood, it was for a relatively modest $6.3 million. For a guy who's graced the covers of countless fashion magazines, Pattinson's personal style is surprising. He's often seen in outfits that look like they were hand-picked in the dark. Beanies, old t-shirts, and unbuttoned plaid shirts are his go-to look, and he's been known to wear the same clothes repeatedly, sometimes for days on end. While other celebrities have stylists at their beck and call, Pattinson seems content to just roll out of bed and throw on whatever he finds, and somehow still looks incredibly cool. And if you think Robert Pattinson's version of modesty is something, wait until you meet a Hollywood icon who's so down to earth, even his coffee has fewer beans. Ryan Reynolds. If you thought Hollywood stars had to choose between fame and humility, Ryan Reynolds is here to prove you wrong. Because this Al Easter somehow balances a box office career with a lifestyle so modest, you could see him driving the kids to school in a minivan instead of a Maserati. But first, let's talk numbers. Ryan Reynolds is worth $350 million, thanks to blockbuster hits like Deadpool and Free Guy, along with some pretty savvy investments. For example, he co-owned Aviation Gene, which he sold for $610 million in 2020. You might think that with that kind of money he'd be living like Bruce Wayne, but Reynolds is more like the boy next door, if the boy next door were actually funny and extremely handsome. Despite his hefty bank account, Reynolds has a surprisingly modest approach to life. He's not the type to spend money on flashy cars or private islands. In fact, he's been spotted driving a family car, which is about as out of the ordinary for Hollywood as it gets. He's joked in interviews about how he doesn't really know how to spend his money, and honestly, we believe him. While other celebrities are busy buying $100,000 watches, Reynolds seems content making sure his 3 daughters have a lifetime supply of dad jokes. Brian and his wife, Blake Lively, could easily live in a mansion so large it would require its own zip code. Instead, they opted for a cozy and charming 3-bedroom house in a small town in Bedford, New York, which they bought for $2.3 million. Sure, it's a nice place, but it's more of a family farm than a celebrity compound. They eventually moved to a more spacious $5.7 million house, still in Bedford, where they created a life centered on family, privacy, and avoiding the Hollywood buzz. In fact, Reynolds has said he's happiest when he's at home with his family, away from the spotlight. Reynolds' modesty isn't just about his lifestyle. It's a reflection of his personality. He's the kind of person who enjoys life's simple pleasures, like teasing his wife on Instagram with funny birthday posts, or sharing awkward photos from the past. When he's not busy being a movie star, he's doing dry, humored commercials for his company Mint Mobile, where he often pokes fun at his own fame and wealth. In one ad, he even joked about how they were able to keep costs down by spending only $35 on that commercial. Although Reynolds prefers to keep a low profile, he's also incredibly generous. He and Lively have donated millions to various causes, including food banks, COVID-19 relief efforts, and support for Indigenous communities in Canada. He's not interested in making a big show of his philanthropy. He just wants to help where he can. And of course, he does it with his signature wit and charm. So, while Ryan Reynolds plays charming superheroes and rogues on screen, in real life, he's a down-to-earth guy who'd rather joke around than spend big. But just when you thought Hollywood couldn't get any more humble, there's one iconic star who has also mastered the art of modesty, making thrift store style look high-end. Sarah Jessica Parker, best known for her role as Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City, could easily have opted for over-the-top glamour given her fame and success. But surprisingly, she's the Hollywood star who makes modesty look as effortless as her on-screen character makes Manhattan look chic. You might think a fashion icon like Sarah Jessica Parker would have a wardrobe worth more than some small countries, but surprisingly, she's remarkably sensible in her fashion choices. While Carrie Bradshaw may have popularized high heels and designer labels, she's actually known for her down-to-earth approach. She's been seen wearing everything from vintage finds to store-bought outfits, often mixing high and low fashion with a style that says, "I'm fabulous, but also practical." In interviews, Parker humorously reflects on her childhood, saying, "I think my mother feels bad that there were things she couldn't give us, but I try to deprive my children just as much as my mother did." Instead of lavish gifts, she emphasizes the importance of experiences, saying, "I'd rather take my kids to the park than buy them a yacht. Who needs a yacht when you have a swing set?" This approach emphasizes the value of wanting and earning over instant gratification. Even with a net worth exceeding $100 million, Parker and her husband Matthew Broderick live in a modest home in New York's West Village. She once joked about her wardrobe, saying, "I have a lot of shoes, but I also have a lot of kids, so it balances out." One of the most surprising aspects of Parker's modesty is her love of thrift stores. Yes, the woman who could afford any designer piece is frequently seen treasure hunting in secondhand shops. She has confessed that she enjoys finding unique items and is known for mixing thrift store finds with high-end pieces in her wardrobe. If you've ever wondered what Carrie Bradshaw would look like in a secondhand dress, just take a look at Parker's actual wardrobe. Besides her acting career, just take a look at Parker's actual wardrobe. In addition to her acting career, Parker has ventured into business with her own line of shoes and clothing. Despite the success of her brand, she is known for her modesty in business. Parker's approach to her entrepreneurial endeavors is based on practical elegance rather than ostentatious marketing. Her brand, SGP Collection, reflects her personal style without the pomp and circumstance you might expect from someone of her stature. Ultimately, Sarah Jessica Parker proves that you can be a Hollywood star without needing a mansion or a fleet of luxury cars. As she herself says, "I think it's good to yearn for something so that when you get it, it has so much meaning. You're not casual with possessions." In her world, laughter and love are the true luxuries. Ashton Kutcher may be at the peak of his career right now, but the 30-something from Iowa learned the hard way that life's lemons don't come free. The Butterfly Effect actor's life story unfolds much like many of the dramas he starred in. From teenage addiction to jail time and empty wallets, Ashton's past has cast a persistent shadow over his impeccably styled hair. But you see the guy who made Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle a hit, and he has more money than he knows what to do with. Instead of buying a private island and hiring a team of butlers to fan him with palm fronds, he's chosen to live a surprisingly modest lifestyle. Kutcher's net worth is estimated to be around $330 million by 2024, with an annual income of approximately $40 million. He earns a staggering $1 million per episode for his television roles. Yet, he's proven time and again that money doesn't buy happiness. In an interview with Esquire, Kutcher reflected on his early days in New York, where he once mistook Prince's VIP area for a public space and tried to chat with the music icon. This humorous anecdote highlights Kutcher's naivete and lack of pretension, even in the face of fame. Kutcher's investments in companies like Airbnb, Uber, and Spotify have also significantly contributed to his wealth. However, he hasn't let his success change his core values. In an interview with Your Story, he shared his mantra: "Don't settle for what life gives you. Transform life and create something better." Ashton Kutcher could easily buy the world, but instead, he happily continues driving the same car he's owned for years. He drives a collection of luxury cars, including a $1.4 million Ferrari, and he also owns a $15 million mansion in Beverly Hills and several other properties across the United States. However, he hasn't let his wealth define him. In 2019, Kutcher suffered a terrifying medical ordeal when he was diagnosed with vasculitis. Facing a condition that temporarily robbed him of his sight, hearing, and ability to walk made him realize how fragile life can be and changed his perspective. He realized that true happiness comes from within and that material possessions aren't the key to personal fulfillment. This experience has made him more selective about the roles he chooses and the stories he wants to tell. Kutcher's commitment to living a modest lifestyle isn't just a personal choice, but also a reflection of his values. By staying grounded and true to himself, Kutcher has shown that wealth and fame don't have to come at the expense of one's character. Hilary Swank. Imagine an actress who has reached the pinnacle of success in Hollywood, yet remains deeply connected to her humble beginnings. Let's talk about the two-time Oscar-winning actress, a Hollywood powerhouse with a staggering net worth of around $40 million. But here's the twist. Despite her glittering accolades, including those coveted Oscars for Boys Don't Cry and Million Dollar Baby, she has chosen a lifestyle that is anything but typical for someone of her stature. Swank's path to stardom was not easy. She grew up in a trailer in Nebraska, far removed from the glitz of Hollywood. After moving to Los Angeles with her mother to pursue acting, she lived in her car for a time. Now that's dedication. Imagine the conversations she must have had with herself. With her success, you might expect Swank to throw extravagant parties or buy diamond-encrusted dog collars. Instead, she is known for her modest tastes. She often opts for a low-key lifestyle, enjoying simple pleasures like walking and cooking. Swank has even been spotted at local grocery stores, proving she's just like us, except with a few more Oscars and a penchant for intense physical training. Speaking of training, her dedication to her roles is legendary. For Million Dollar Baby, she transformed her body to portray a boxer, gaining 18 pounds of muscle and training like a warrior. She reportedly consumed 6 ounces of protein a day, which sounds like a lot of chicken breasts. Despite her wealth, she remains grounded. She often speaks about the importance of family and personal connections over material possessions. In interviews, she humorously acknowledges the absurdity of fame, saying, "I'm just a girl from Nebraska who got lucky." Her humility and charm shine through, making her not only a talented actress, but someone you'd want to grab a coffee with, even if it's just to hear more about her life lessons and maybe swap protein shake recipes. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.